Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Wednesday, November 2nd, 2022. Today I'm going to recap last night's Game 3 of the World Series and look ahead to Game 4. NBA, NHL, and college football from last night. Look ahead to tonight's games in each sport. We'll talk about the playoff rankings that came out last night. Golf, we have an episode of Survivor to discuss for tonight. News and notes, and best bet. We'll start with the World Series. Game 3 was a smashing success for the Philadelphia Phillies as they come out on top by a score of 7-0. I think the rain out benefited them, so they were able to start Ranger Suarez, who pitched 5 scoreless innings of ball as this series is now a 2-1 lead for the Phils. Suarez gets the win and Lance McCullers Jr. the loss. So Bryce Harper, 2-run shot in the bottom of the first, bottom of the second, back-to-back Alec Bowman, Brandon Marsh, bottom of the fifth. I think these were back-to-back too by Kyle Schwarber was a 2-run shot, and then Rhys Hoskins. So 5 homers, gets it done for Philly. Suarez 5 innings raised, no one runs a walk and 4 strikeouts, and then following him in the pen, scoreless innings, Connor Brogdon, Kyle Gibson, Nick Nelson, and Andrew Bellotti. So their top leverage guys get a day of rest. That's what benefits from that for them. And then McCullers 4 in the third inning, 7 earned runs, 6 hits, a walk, and 5 strikeouts. Ryan Stanek pitched 2/3 of an inning, and then Jose Urquidy was in mop-up duty for them. All right, tonight, 8 o'clock on Fox, Astros-Phils, Game 4. For this game, it's going to be Aaron Nola and Christian Javier. Astros are a slight favorite, -112. Phillies are -104, over under 7.5. Overs -102, unders -120. Astros -1.5 is +150. Phillies +1.5 is -182. The Phillies just seem to have the mojo right now. I know I took Astros in 6, but Aaron Nola should not be a home dog. But I really like the Phillies in the first half. So Phillies first half result +120 is going to be the pick. I don't have the balls to pick the Phillies outright the win. But I do think that they'll at least win the first half of this game. Okay, now I'll move on to the NBA. We'll recap the games from last night and look ahead to a much larger window tonight. Bulls over the Nets, 108-99. The Bulls, 4-4. Brooklyn, 2-6. Zach LaVine, 29 points and 5 assists. Kevin Durant, 32 points in the Nets' first game without Steve Nash as the coach. Heat over the Warriors, 116-109. Miami's 3-5, so is Golden State. Max Truss, 24 points. And Steph has a triple-double, 23 points, 13 boards, 13 assists. Thunder over the Magic, 116-108. The Thunder are 4-3. Orlando's 1-7. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 34 points in the win, and Wendell Carter Jr. had 30 with 12 boards. Suns over the Timberwolves, 116-107. Phoenix is 6-1. Minnesota's 4-4. Cam Johnson, 29 points. And Karl Anthony Towns had 24 with 10 boards and 7 assists. All right, 10 games tonight. At 6 o'clock, you have the Wizards at the Sixers. They moved this game back because of the Phillies game, no doubt in my mind. So that was a smart move by the NBA and the Sixers. Philly is giving 7.5. The total is 217.5. I project 10 and 219 and 3/5. So I'm going to lay the 7.5 with the Sixers. They've turned the corner after their slow start to the season. And it's the Philadelphia mojo going on right now. So I'm going to lay the 7.5 with Philly against the Wiz. 7:30 ESPN, you have the Celtics at the Cavaliers. I don't know who's on the call this game, but if I had to guess, I'd say it's like Mark Jones and Doris Burke, or Mike Breen and Doris Burke. But we'll see. Cleveland is a 2-point home underdog, total 221.5. And I project Cavs by 3, total 227 and 3/5. So an over 5.5 point edge on the over. And a 5-point edge on the Cavaliers. But I have to pick the over for the show today. Kings Heat. Miami's giving 7, totals to 22. I project 9.5 and 225 and 3/5. Another over. Hawks Knicks from the Garden. This to me is the most fascinating line. Knicks are favored by 1.5, totals 233. I project Knicks 1.5, total 233 and a 5th. So this was the closest line. I did not expect that. Slight over. But the Knicks are favored. Is that Vegas knows? Probably. But I also have Knicks favored. But I was hoping to get the Knicks as a dog, but they're favored as a very, very slight home favorite. This game was Atlanta. Atlanta's favored by 1.5. Or Atlanta would be favored by 4.5. But for this game, it would go slight over. And then Knicks money line at -120. So let's just make the pick Knicks money line -120 and then a slight over. Because the money line is fine enough where I could bet it. 8 o'clock, the Hornets and the Bulls from Chicago. This was supposed to be the Ball Bowl, but both balls aren't even playing. The line, it's right here. 5.5 to 24.5. And I project 10.5 and 228 and a 10th. So I'm going to lay to 5.5 with the Bulls. No LaMelo. And I think Charlotte's finally going to regress a little bit. So I'm going to lay to 5.5 with the Bulls. Against the Hornets. Clippers, Rockets from Houston. Clippers are 5-point favorites. Total is 222.5. I project 13 and 215 and 3/5. So an almost 7-point edge on the under and an 8-point edge on the Clips. So I'm going to 5 with the Clippers, but I don't feel good about it. Pistons Bucks from Milwaukee. Milwaukee's favored by 11.5. Total is 223. I project 11.25. Total 225 and 2/5. So I'm going to take the over. Raptors Spurs from San Antonio. The Raptors are giving 7. The total is 224. I project 13.5 and 226 and 9/20. So I'm going to lay to 7 with the Raptors in San Antonio. No Devin Vassell for San Antonio. 8:30 Jazz Mavs from Dallas. Dallas is giving 5.5. Total is 222. I project 10 and 229 and 7/10. So I'm going to take the over. ESPN 10 o'clock, it's a good one. Well, it would have been a good one if there was a certain player healthy. Grizzlies Blazers from Portland. Memphis is a 5-point favorite. Total is 226. And I project 4.5 and 232 and 13/20. I love the over in this game. Even without Dame and Triple J, I think that both these teams are going to score a lot of points. So I like the over. And last but not least, 10:30, the Pelicans and the Lakers from Crypto. Pelicans are 3-point favorites. Total is 228.5. I project Pelicans by 3. Total 222 and 4/5. I really like the under. No Ingram. And I think the Pelicans are going to play some good defense. So I'm going to take the under 228.5 in that contest. All right, now we'll move on to the National Hockey League. We will go over the results from a big day yesterday and look ahead to an interesting slate coming up tonight. Rangers over the Flyers 1-0 in overtime on a game winner by Chris Kreider. Rangers tied for first place in the Metro. They're 6-3-2. Philly is 5-2-2 with 12 points. Lightning over the Senators 4-3. Lightning are 6-4-0 with 12 points. Ottawa's 4-5-0 with 8 points. By the way, the stars of the game. Number 3 star game with 35 saves on 36 shots. Carter Hart, he should have been the number 2 star. But the number 2 star, 19 saves on 19 shots. Igor Shesterkin, and the number 1 star of the game with the overtime winner, Chris Kreider. Number 3 star in Tampa's game with the goal for Ottawa, Matthew Joseph. Number 2 star of the game with the goal and assist, Braden Point. Number 1 star of the game with the goal and 2 assists, Nikita Kucherov. Golden Knights over the Capitals, 3-2 in OT on a game winner by Shea Theodore. Vegas is 9-2-0 with 18 points. Washington is 5-4-2 with 12 points. Number 3 star of the game with 2 assists, Dylan Strome. Number 2 star of the game with 28 saves on 30 shots, Charlie Lindgren. And the number 1 star of the game with the game winner, Shea Theodore. Wild over the Canadiens, 4-1. The Wild improved to 5-4-1 with 11 points. Montreal drops to 5-5-0 with 10 points. Number 3 star of the game with a goal, Mason Shaw. Number 2 star of the game with 2 goals, Kirill Kaprizov. And the number 1 star of the game with 34 saves on 35 shots, Marc-Andre Fleury. Bruins over the Penguins, 6-5 in OT on a game winner by Hampus Lindholm. Boston, 9-1-0 with 18 points. Pittsburgh, 4-4-2 with 10 points. Number 3 star of the game with the goal and an assist, Evgeny Malkin. Number 2 star of the game with the goal, Taylor Hall. Number 1 star of the game with the goal and 3 assists, Hampus Lindholm. Islanders over the Blackhawks, 3-1. The Islanders are 6-4-0 with 12 points. And Chicago, 4-4-2 with 10 points. Number 3 star of the game with the goal, Jonathan Taves. Number 2 star of the game with the goal, Anders Lee. Number 1 star of the game with the goal and assist, Brock Nelson. Stars over the Kings, 5-2. Dallas is 6-3-1 with 13 points. LA is 6-6-0 with 12 points. Number 3 star of the game with the goal and 2 assists, Jason Robertson. Number 2 star of the game with 2 goals and an assist, Rupert Prince. Number 1 star of the game with 2 assists, Miro Heiskanen. Kraken over the Flames, 5-4. That's a pretty big upset. Seattle's 5-4-2 with 12 points. Calgary's 5-3-0 with 10 points. Number 3 star of the game with 2 assists, Oliver Bjorkstrand. Number 2 star of the game with a goal and assist, Tyler Toffoli. Number 1 star of the game with a goal, Yanni Goudreau. Oilers over the Predators, 7-4. The Oilers are 7-3-0 with 14 points, and Nashville is 3-6-1 with 7 points. Number 3 star of the game with a hat trick, Evander Kane. Number 2 star of the game with 2 goals and 2 assists, Connor McDavid. Number 1 star of the game with a goal and 4 assists, Leon Draisaitl. Coyotes over the Panthers, 3-1. The Coyotes are 3-5-1 with 7 points, and the Panthers drop to 5-4-1 with 11 points. Number 3 star of the game with the goal, Lawson Cross. Number 2 star of the game with the goal, Nick Ritchie. Number 1 star of the game with 41 saves on 42 shots, Karel Vizvelka. Devils over the Canucks, 5-2. The Devils still tied for first in the Metro with the Rangers, 7-3-0 with 14 points. And Vancouver drops to 2-6-2 with 6 points. Number 3 star of the game with a goal and an assist, Yegor Sharanjovic. Number 2 star of the game with 2 goals, Bo Horvat. Number 1 star of the game with a goal and assist, Jack Hughes. And the Ducks over the Sharks, 6-5 in a shootout. Anaheim is 3-6-1 with 7 points. San Jose 3-8-1 with 7 points. Number 3 star of the game with 2 assists, Thomas Hertl. Number 2 star of the game with 2 goals, Timo Meier. Number 1 star of the game with a hat trick and an assist, Erik Karlsson. So the 3 stars of the game were all from the Sharks, and the Ducks won the game. Go figure. How often do you see that? Okay, only 2 games tonight, 7 o'clock. You have the Flyers and the Maple Leafs. Surprised this isn't the TNT game. I'll tell you what the TNT game is in a moment here. The Leafs are minus 330. The Flyers are plus 260. Over under 6.5. Overs minus 115. Unders minus 105. Flyers plus 1.5 is plus 104. Leafs minus 1.5 is minus 128. Flyers puck line automatic. I know they're the second of a back-to-back, but Toronto shouldn't be that big of a favorite. Sorry. And the TNT game is Penguins Sabres from Buffalo. Pittsburgh's minus 125. Buffalo plus 104. Over under 7. Overs plus 132. Unders minus 164. Pittsburgh minus 1.5 is plus 198. Sabres plus 1.5 is minus 250. I'm surprised that the Penguins are only minus 125. I'm going Penguins in regulation at plus 126. All right, now I'm going to go over last night's college football games. I apologize, guys, because I did not make picks for the college football games played yesterday. So, it was Ball State, Kent State. Kent was a 7-point favorite, total 61.5, and I projected Ball State 1.5, total 56 and 13/20. So the podcast play, I've written down Ball State. And then Buffalo, Ohio. Buffalo's a 2.5-point favorite, total 60.5. And I projected 2 and 61 in the 20th, so the pick was a slight over. And by the way, I don't know the results, so I'll learn them as I go over them. Ball State over Kent State, 27-20, so I was right about that. Ball State's 5-4, Kent State is 3-6. And Ohio over Buffalo, 45-24, so both picks came into fruition. Buffalo's 5-4, Ohio is 6-3. 2 games tonight, 7 o'clock on ESPN, Central Michigan and Northern Illinois. The line of this game is Northern by 5.5, total 56.5. And my projection is 5 and 59 and 13/20. So the play here is going to be the over. And the second game on ESPN2, we have Western Michigan and Bowling Green. Bowling Green's favored by 4.5. Total is 48.5. I love the over in this game. Neither of these teams play any good defense. I project 6.5 and 56 and 3/20. So the over is a no-brainer pick here for me today. All right, now I'm going to go over the college football playoff rankings that came out yesterday. So what they did yesterday is they went from 25 to 1. But what I did on the show yesterday is what they used to do. They used to go 25 through 7, 1 through 4, and then 5 and 6. So without further ado, I'm going to go over the rankings. Number 25, the UCF Knights. 24, the Texas Longhorns. 23, the Oregon State Beavers. 22, the NC State Wolfpack. 21, the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. 20, the Syracuse Orange. 19, Tulane Mean Green. 18, the Oklahoma State Cowboys. 17, the UNC Tar Heels. 16, Illinois Fighting Illini. 15, the Penn State Nittany Lions. 14, the Utah Utes. 13, the Kansas State Wildcats. 12, the UCLA Bruins. 11, the Ole Miss Rebels. 10, the LSU Tigers. 9, the USC Trojans. 8, the Oregon Ducks. 7, the TCU Horned Frogs. 6, the Alabama Crimson Tide. 5, the Michigan Wolverines. 4, the Clemson Tigers. 3, the Georgia Bulldogs. 2, the Ohio State Buckeyes. And number 1, and deservingly so, the Tennessee Volunteers. So, I nailed the top 3. I nailed the top 7, but not in the correct order. 1 through 3 I got in the right order. 4 and 5 I had wrong. 6 and 7 I had wrong. I was right about Oregon being 8th. I was right about Ole Miss being 11. And I was right about Oklahoma State being 18. I thought Maryland and Liberty were going to be teams in the rankings. Instead, it was Texas and Oregon State. Texas is in there only because they barely lost to Alabama, let's be honest. So that was an Alabama thing for them. And then Oregon State's in there because they almost upset USC. So I feel like those two teams got lucky to be in the rankings. You know this is going to be different next week. Team that's too high, LSU, they should not be in the top 10. I understand to beat Ole Miss head to head. But they lost to Florida State. And I know they lost to Tennessee, which is not a bad loss now looking back. But LSU has 2 losses. They shouldn't be ahead of Ole Miss, even though Ole Miss beat, or they beat Ole Miss head to head. And a team that's too low is UCLA. UCLA has been a marvelous story. I think UCLA should have been in the top 10. I probably would have flipped them with LSU, honestly, in the rankings. And UCLA should be ahead of SC, and they're not. I'm glad that the Bear mentioned that on the show last night on ESPN. So, the reason why Clemson's ahead of Michigan, I think, is because of the non-con schedule. And it was very weak on Michigan's end. Meanwhile, Clemson still gets to play Notre Dame. And I think, regardless of that result, they're going to look at it as Notre Dame. Like, as in Notre Dame of old. And if Notre Dame wins against Clemson, they're a lock to be in this rankings next week. Just saying. And, the other one was Alabama TCU. TCU should be ahead of Alabama. They have better wins than Alabama. What's Alabama's best win? Texas? Like, give me a break. I know Mississippi State is a solid win too, but they're not in the top 25 in these rankings. But Alabama's ahead of TCU solely because they're Alabama. TCU's non-con schedule hurt them, I think. But the Big 12 is really good. And I think TCU being undefeated and winning against all those ranked opponents, they deserve more credit for that. So I'm a little disappointed that they are beneath Alabama. Some of these other teams I was pretty close on their number. Utah, Kansas State, I was like 1 spot off. Illinois, I was 2 spots off. Penn State, 1 point off. UNC, 1 spot or 2 spots off. And then towards the bottom, Tulane's a little higher than I expected them to be, but that's good for them. Maybe because they beat Kansas State. They gave them more credit. But Southern Miss, that loss is so bad. If they beat Southern Miss, Tulane would have been in like 13th or something like that, if not higher. Syracuse, I was 1 off. Waco's 2 off. UCF 2 off. So I wasn't like way off on some of these guesses. I missed on Liberty and Maryland and said it was Texas and Oregon State. LSU I was way off on. UCLA I was 3 spots off. But I made the case that they should have been higher. And then everybody else is like 1 or 2 spots off. So we're going to do this every Tuesday and Wednesday going forward on the show. Predicting the rankings and seeing how my predictions are compared to the actual rankings. All right, now we'll move on to the PGA. The tournament coming up is being held in Mexico. The OHL Classic. So we'll go over the tee times for notable golfers. 6:55, Aaron Ray, Doug Gim, Brandon Wu, Kevin Tway, Kevin Strowman, David Ligmerth. 7:06, Grayson Sigg, Harrison Buckley, Jason Duffner, Ben Martin. 7-17, Charlie Hoffman, Sam Piercy, Austin Cook, Davis Riley, David Lipsky, and James Hahn. 7-28, Joel Dahman, JT Potson, Chad Ramey, Cam Champ, Francesco Molinari, Robert Streb. 7:39, Colin Morikawa, Richie Wierenski, Seamus Power, Martin Laird, Nate Taylor, Emiliano Grillo. 7:50, Grayson Higo, Victor Hovland, Tyler Duncan, Keith Mitchell, Scotty Scheffler, Kang-Hoo Lee. 8:01, Patton Kazir, Mark Hubbard, Chuck Sapon, Patrick Rogers, Ryan Henley. 8:12, Callum Tarrant, Bayo Hostler, Dylan Fratelli. 8:23, Ben Grant, Ben Taylor. 8:34, Ben Griffin, Will Gordon, Joseph Brumlett. 8:45, Robbie Shelton. 11:35, Justin Lauer, Kramer Hickok, Nate Lashley, Matthias Schwab, Danny Lee, Adam Hadwin. 11:46, Adam Svensson, Alex Loren, Ryan Palmer, Ryan Morse, Sam Riders in 11:57 with Brian Harmon, Rory Sabatini, Russell Knox, Maverick McGilly, and Adam Long. 12:08, Taylor Hogue, Andrew Landry, Lucas Glover, Matt Kuchar, Brendan Todd. 12:19, Sebastian Munoz, Evan Van Roy, and Cesar V, Joaquin Herman, Harry English, Tony Finau. 12:30, JJ Spawn, Aaron Rice, Seb Straka, Justin Rose, Brett Horschel, Jason Day. 12:41, Henrik Norlander, Matt Wallace, Austin Smotherman, Lucas Hodges, Danny Willett, Adam Putnam. 12:52, Nate Hardy, Max McGreevy, Cam Young, Troy Merritt, Chris Kirk. 103, Patrick Knowles, Thomas Dietrich. 114, Harry Higgs. 125, Michael Giljic. And that's it among notable tee times. All right. So my pick to win the OHL Classic. Let's go with somebody that I think is due to come through. I haven't picked this individual in a while. It's one of my favorite people, the back in tournaments. His odds are... This is weird. Ooh. I might get him at a great value number. Where is he? This is crazy that I'm going this far down the list. 80-1. I found them. It's Justin Rose. So I'm going to lay a fifth of a unit on Justin Rose at 80-1 to win the Worldwide Technology Championship, which is also known as the OHL Classic. All right, now I'm going to talk about tonight's episode of Survivor. No Masked Singer tonight due to the World Series. If the World Series doesn't go 7 games, then we'll see the Masked Singer on Sunday night. So we made it to the merge. It's Cody, Cassidy, Carla, Mike, as we know him as Gabler, James, Owen, Noel, Sammy, Jesse, Ryan, Dwight, and Janine. So we're going to start to see individual immunities. And sometimes the winner of that would take like 1 or 2 people with them to enjoy a reward. I think now we're going to see some drama and whatnot. But what's fair is that 4 people from each original tribe is still there. So the OG Vezi group, it's Cody, it's Noel, it's Jesse, and Dwight. Coco, Cassidy, Carla, James, and Ryan, and Baca, Gabler, Owen, Sammy, and Janine. So I have no inside intel on what the challenge is today. So it's going to be very interesting. So I'm blindly going to guess who wins individual immunity, and I'm blindly going to guess who goes home. So I'm going to say the first person to get individual immunity in the merge of this season. Maybe I'm being biased here because I feel like she's owned the show. And she's been wonderful. And that's Noelle. I think she has a real shot to win. She has a great heart. She has the heart and soul of the Vesey tribe. And I think she's going to go out and work her ass off. And then, who goes home? But I think they draw lots. And whoever's I don't think they draw rocks. I think whoever's the first, sixth to finish, is safe, and then the rest go to tribal council. But this is the show where the jury starts. So we're gonna see these contestants through the rest of the season because they're going to be on the jury and they would have to vote the winner. I'm tempted to pick Gabler to go home tonight. I think that he has turned into an enemy on the show. He single-handedly caused Ellie to go home last week. So I would not be stunned if Gabler goes home. I think that Cassidy is perceived to be a weak link. And another one that I think could potentially be in trouble is Owen. It's going to be one of those three. I'm going to go ballsy. I'm going to say it's Gabler. Because they're mad at what he did to Ellie last week. So, I'm going to say that Gabler goes home, and it's a shock to some people. All right, now I'll move on to news and notes for today. News coming down from Adam Schefter just now is that the Commanders designated Chase Young to return to practice, so that's good news for them. Maybe he'll be back sooner rather than later. And here's some news that came down yesterday is that Brett Reed sentenced to prison, the former assistant coach of the Chiefs, sentenced to 3 years as part of the felony DWI plea deal for the crash that injured a 5-year-old girl. That's not surprising, to say the least. And I don't think this is going to be that big of a distraction to the Chiefs. Irv Smith Jr. out 8 to 10 weeks with a high ankle sprain, and that makes the trade for TJ Hawkinson make sense. If you didn't listen to the trade deadline recap emergency podcast yesterday, I suggest you do so. The Colts fire offensive coordinator Marcus Brady as the team's only averaging 16.1 points per game, which is 30th in the league. So there's the move that the Colts make, and the OC turns out to be the fall guy. Joe Shane had a press conference yesterday, the Giants GM, and they're open to a potential Odell Beckham return. I don't think it's the right thing. I know Odell would help them on the field, but he's a distraction off the field, and I think he murdered the franchise and the tail end of Eli Manning's career. So I would stay as far away as from Odell as possible, and I think Odell wants to go to a team that's more likely to win the Super Bowl, like Buffalo or Philly or Dallas, Minnesota maybe. So we'll see where Odell could end up. Michigan State suspends Jacoby Windman, Brandon Wright, Justin White, and Malcolm Jones for the post-game tunnel fight against Michigan. That's not surprising, to say the least. And that's going to distract that team. Baseball. Chris Sale staying with the Red Sox as he's earned $55 million through 2024. After telling team he will not opt out of the final 2 years of his deal. That's not surprising. Managerial hire. Pedro Grifol expected to be named the White Sox manager later in the week. He is a veteran assistant for the Cardinals. He worked under Mike Matheny. So that is not surprising that Grifol gets a job. So good on the White Sox for staying away from Ozzie Guillen and going with somebody who is a well-respected assistant. We'll see how that works out. Lance McCullers says, I got whooped after giving up 5 home runs to the Phillies in Game 3. Another Philly restaurant snubs Astros players. And the restaurant got flamed for it on Instagram, which is not surprising. So the Kyrie Irving thing's yet another distraction for the Brooklyn Nets. And the league released a statement after Kyrie Irving's tweets promoting an anti-Semitic film. They say anti-Semiticism has no place in our society. The NBA is focused on creating an environment where everyone is accepted. We are committed to helping players fully understand that certain words can lead to hateful ideologies being spread. We will continue to work on identifying and combating all hate speech wherever it arises. So that's a good statement by the league. The question is, does Kyrie Irving get in trouble for it? That's something that I did not mention while talking about the Nets yesterday on the emergency show, because I don't think it had anything to do with Steve Nash's firing. But it's embarrassing what's going on with the Nets. And Kyrie, I think, should be punished for his actions. Kevin Durant says he was shocked by the Nash news as he said he woke up from a nap and saw the news on TV. He says, but it's normal in the NBA. Sean Marks says that the team's not looking to trade Kevin Durant as he doesn't appear to be considering trading Durant following Steve Nash's firing. That's that. And maybe Durant does end up getting traded after all, but he took away his trade request and they fired the coach. There was a controversial call in the Golden State-Miami game as the refs overturned a three-shot foul on Steph that could have helped the Warriors tie the game. It's part of why Golden State lost last night, but it was a controversial call to say the least. De'Aaron Fox has a bone bruise. No structural damage as he'll miss the Heat game, return depending on resolution of symptoms. And the MLS MVP was announced, and it goes to Nashville forward Hani Mukhtar, who scored 23 goals and had 11 assists this season. He's well deserving for this award. Philly Union goalie Andre Blake was also in play for the award, but I think it should have went to Mukhtar. He really carried that Nashville team, although they lost in the first round. So congrats to Mukhtar on a great year. Well deserving for that MVP trophy. All right, best bet of the day brought to you by FanDuel. There was one line in that stood out to me in the NBA, but I'm not going to go there. I'm going to go to college football, and I'm going to take over 48.5 in Western Michigan Bowling Green. I think that is a no-brainer of a pick. I'm going to lay a unit on it, actually. That's how good I feel about the pick. So over 48.5 between Western Michigan and Bowling Green for my best bet of the day. All right, that's it for today's show. I'll be back tomorrow recapping everything, look ahead to everything tomorrow, including Thursday Night Football. We'll recap the Survivor episode and obviously news and notes and best bet I'll have for you guys as well. Hope you guys have a great day, everyone.